Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of You Haven't Seen That Podcast, or YHST for short. I'm Isaac.
I'm Elva.
And this is a show where we cover movies on that growing list of films that has people asking us the question, you haven't seen that? Another intermission episode. Because like we've said in previous episodes, there are just so many darn good movies coming out. Some of these movies, in fact, I didn't really hear much about. And because of certain promos and interviews and stuff like that, right? I was like, you know what? Wasn't really looking forward to certain movies, and I think we should book it. You know, there was like the obvious one we were going to see, which we're going to talk about today, which is How to Train Your Dragon. That was an interesting one. We'll get into that in a moment. And then there were things of like Materialists I know you wanted to see, and like Dakota Johnson, and then Life of Chuck we were not going to see. And the promos were intriguing as hell. And so we bring you 3 movies today. How to Train Your Dragon, Materialists, and Life of Chuck. But before we get into those movies, we don't have any news. We won't have any trivia because these 3 movies contain a lot to talk about, surprisingly. But before we get into that, real quick at the top, reminder, if you haven't done so already, you can find us on our social medias at
YHST Pod
on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And on those things, if you could do us a favor, if you can like, share, follow, subscribe, comment, all of the things. If you like what we do, please let people know about us. You know, let's get that momentum going and, feed the numbers to the algorithm overlord. And then if you'd like to support us monetarily, easy for me to say, that you could do that on Venmo at
YHST Pod.
So that's at YHST Pod in all the places. Easy to remember. Merch. We should make merch.
Anybody want stickers?
I know. You know what? I really do want to get like a big enough of an audience where it would make sense to make merch. In the meantime, though, I think we got to get some stickers made.
I'm okay with stickers.
Let us know down in the comments. All right, let's fucking jump into this, dude. I'm actually really excited to talk about all these 3 different things.
Hey, dude.
Yeah, dude. But let's start with what I think is like the easier one to start with, which is Life of Chuck.
A life-affirming, genre-bending story based on Stephen King's novella about 3 chapters in the life of an ordinary man named Charles Krantz. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck, for 39 great years. Now, at the time of this podcast releasing, I think the movie will already have been out for a couple of weeks. So we're not going to like outright spoil big things, but there are certain aspects of these movies that I think are going to get spoiled in our discussion. So obvious quick heads up, spoiler alert, go watch the movies, come back and let's discuss it. But let's talk about Life of Chuck.
I'm down. Let's go.
So I remember seeing a trailer of this movie and I thought that Tom Hiddleston is going to possibly get my butt in that movie seat depending on like our scheduling and everything like that. I knew jack fucking diddly about the rest of any of the movie. I didn't even know that it was a Stephen King short story. I didn't know that Mike Flanagan was directing it. And honestly speaking, I'm one of those guys, if I would have known the aforementioned 2, I would have been like, dude, we have to go see this movie. But it was one of those things that because of interviews and clips, like the promos for these things, especially on social media, was really intriguing. And I thought, you know what? This might be a movie where I need to have like a good cry or a good existential view in my life.
Yeah, no, same. I think a week before we went to go see the movie is when I finally figured out, I'm like, this is a Stephen King thing? And I thought you knew, that's why I never brought it up. Until after the movie, you're like, Life of Chuck. I was like, Stephen King, because you saw the credits, you're Stephen King. I was like, yeah, I thought you knew. And
I did not. Tom Hiddleston is I think he's an awesome actor. I think he's an adorable person. We remember seeing him on a live podcast from the Nerdist at 2016 Comic-Con. I remember them bullying him. What's his name? Chris Hardwick, right? And along with Guillermo del Toro's for Crimson Peak.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And ever since then, everyone knows him as Loki. What makes his character of Loki stand out, I'm not turning into a whole comic book thing, but I'm just sort of illustrating his acting ability, is that even though Loki is written really well, when you have an amazing performer like this embody the emotions of a fucking comic book character, some great acting. And I've even seen him in other stuff. But then to exploit, or I don't know if that's the right word, but like to focus on or bring out the adorableness that is Tom Hiddleston in this character of Chuck, who is just a simple accountant and throughout the 3 stages of his life impacts people in the smallest ways. It's not like, and then their lives changed, but it was a nice reminder. This movie, like, it slowed. I needed a reset. It was a busy week and I needed this movie served as like a lovely reset.
Yeah.
And it slowed it down and made me realize, like, oh, sometimes you need to stop, slow down, and actually have a human connection. Yeah, your life is going to be full of, monotony, sometimes a little bit of a rut. Every now and again, you need to kind of tap your toe and dance around a little bit, be a goofball.
Yeah, and also the way this is told.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it was like 3 acts. But the order of those 3 acts kind of made me feel like I missed the beginning of the movie. Where are we going? But it all made sense.
Yeah, and I won't outright say how those things played out, but basically the acts, typically you have act 1, 2, and 3, and the movie started out with act 3. So if you can guess the stages of life that we're following with Chuck, you get what I'm talking about. But the way that this movie was introduced itself or whatever was in the most surreal way that I didn't know if we were in the correct movie, which seems to be like
the theme of the week. To be honest, the theme of this like week that we went to go see movie,
except for How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah,
like,
except for
no,
that
we know
one.
what
That
we're
one
watching.
was that's fine. But the theme for the other 2, like this one and the other one, it was, are we in the correct movie? I don't think we are. And inwardly I panic because that's like a fear of mine of not being in the correct movie.
We've not intentionally done that, but they played the wrong movie a couple times.
Yeah, I think the last time AMC did a screw up and
we were supposed to watch The Crow and they ended up playing Alien.
Yeah.
Romulus.
They didn't even say that it was canceled or anything.
No, that's right. Those
I was
bastards.
like, wait, but they scanned us in. So I was like, oh yeah, no, they're good.
But that first act. So in context, Mike Flanagan is like a lot of the big directors where he has his group of people, his cast, his ensemble that he regularly works with. Wes Anderson does it, Scorsese does it, and this guy does it in the form of Mark Hamill, the Mark Hamill. Mm-hmm. What's his name? Rahul Kohli?
Oh, yeah. From iZombie?
Yeah. His wife, Katie Siegel, and a few other people. But then there's like some new actors that he's working with, like amazing Chiwetel Ejiofor, easy for you to say.
Hey, he's my favorite name.
Karen Gillan.
Yeah.
David Dastmalchian popped up in this, which was fun, as did Harvey Guillen. And there's a few other people, like, Matthew Lillard.
I was not expecting Matthew Lillard.
What a pleasant dude. So anyways, in the first act, this very surreal thing where the world is ending, basically. At first I go, oh, is this movie going to go heavy political, especially with everything going on right now? In the middle of basically the world ending, and you kind of circulate through a handful of these characters, and it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But then how they're sort of dealing with it, which is even though the world is ending, they are making sure to bond with each other, connect with one another.
Yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor's character happens upon Carl Lumley's character, a mortician, and they have a chat and they have a walk, and it's very serene. The end is serene. And even in just that first act, I thought, wait, the world is ending, but there's something sweet to this, So I was locked into what this movie was going to be. And then that first act ended the way that it ended, and I was like, what is this movie? It presented a mystery.
And then again, I was like, is this the end of the movie? Is this a short film or something?
Yeah. You're not even introduced to Chuck yet, only in the form of like billboards and advertisements, and everybody wondering,
who's Chuck?
Who's this Chuck guy? 39 years? And then it switches to
Act 2,
which is we get to meet Tom Hiddleston's Chuck. And the basis of that whole second act is, and by the way, also the whole movie is narrated by none other than Nick Offerman.
Oh my God.
So fucking wonderful.
Knew that voice right away.
But no matter how surreal or sweet or sad or intense some of the scenes can be, or some of the acts can be, there still is this underlying tone of kind of like a serene peacefulness to it, an acceptance of all the things going on, whether it's life or death or anything in between, heartache, whatever it is. And there's more mystery presented to us, little flashes of stuff, and it is just a fascinating movie. Everyone in there is so sweet-natured. Actors that I'm not entirely familiar with, but like you can tell that whoever casted them was very selective about who they cast. Nobody was like an asshole person or nothing like that.
Everyone knew how to play all the parts, even some of the younger characters.
Yeah.
They hit that part, especially talking about grief and how they just accepted life, not accepted life, but how they moved on with it as they're growing up.
And that is one of the kind of messages of the movie, which is no matter the heartbreak, no matter the inevitability of death, that you can still live a good life. You can still live a fulfilling life. Mm-hmm. Chuck wasn't an extraordinary person. In fact, rather mundane. He was an accountant, and he happened to love to dance, which that second act dancing sequence is one of the most fun things that I've seen in a movie that like made me smile, and it reminded me like, yes, those are those moments, the kind of, stopping and smelling the roses, and you hear a cool song and you maybe dance a little bit, in this case, a full-on choreographed dance, which is amazing. And how important art is and how important music is, and just expressing yourself in an artistic way. Like there is such an importance in it. And if you can bring people along with you, you've won at life. You are living a fulfilled life. You do not need to be the richest person in the world, so long as you're connecting with people on a real basis. We're all going through the condition that is the human experience. Sometimes the why. Yeah.
Because the whole dancing thing, that was more like, it was more of the why he did it.
Right. Yeah, and some of that is like, it doesn't matter why you need to, goof around and whatever. It's just, if you feel it, do it. Other than like the feel good stuff, there is some interesting mystery that is presented in there in the last act, which is him young, living with his grandparents. Every act has its different set of emotions. Such a fascinating movie, and it ends up ending where it starts off. Mystery, right? I'm talking about mystery. So yeah, it does. It actually presents maybe sort of a supernatural aspect to it that I think that Flanagan, I mean, I know it's written in the Stephen King thing, even though coming from horror people, this is actually not a horror thing. And there's not like scary suspense or nothing like that. But there's this little mystery, a little slight supernatural mystery that is thrown in there, because Flanagan and Stephen King can help themselves.
I feel like Stephen King can write horror or anything like especially when it comes to death. People are afraid of it. Yeah. So he decided to write like a very short novel or novella of like the most natural thing that could happen to anyone at any age. But people are so afraid of it that sometimes they don't want to listen to the whole, well, are you going to bury me or am I going to bury you?
Yeah.
To the point where like, no, that scares me. But that's just like a natural feeling of scared.
There's a saying that if you worry too much, you die two deaths. One is the death of your life as you're living because you're worrying about what if, and you're never actually truly living your life.
Yeah.
And the second death, obviously, is you actually die.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to live that. You know what I mean? I want to live the two lives, the life where I am living now, and then the one where I realize, I need to not be afraid of all these things, the inevitabilities, and just go ahead and live a fulfilled life.
I mean, there is some room for you to be scared, but that's natural if you're doing new experiences. That's that, but it's not the fear that's stopping you from doing those. It's the fear that you're going to be doing something and you just don't know the outcome of it. You don't know how to control it.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to go skydiving or buy a motorcycle, but I might try something different on the menu.
I'm going to go go-karting. Go on that roller coaster that doesn't have loops. Just plunges down on me. It's fine.
You know what? I will try a different flavor of chips.
Which is weird because sometimes you are more adventurous than I am. But when it comes to like the adrenaline stuff, you're just like, that looks fucking scary. I'm like, let's fucking go.
That's a good point. No, well, I don't know. I don't think we have enough examples for us to...
Like, what was it at Knott's? That one time we went, I forgot when we went, but it was the hang one, the new one
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it like full on 90 degrees
Yeah.
down. And I was like, let's go. And you're like, no, that doesn't look safe. And I'm like, the one time that I want to go on a ride that doesn't have any loops but has a 90-degree drop to it, you're telling me you don't want to go on it with me. You don't even have to psych me up
Would you
for
go
this.
on the carnival slingshots with me?
What is that?
The slingshots, you'd sit like in a cage thing, and then they literally slingshot you up. And
Oh,
like,
those. Would you like to go on any carnival ride that isn't the Ferris wheel?
not that zipper thing. Fuck that zipper thing.
Nah, fuck, let's go.
No, it's not.
Well,
Here's the, oh, no. Here's the thing. It's not even like about like we're gonna die. I don't want to throw up on a ride.
No, but here's the thing. That's where it's stopping you. That's my whole point. Like for these rides that like, for those rides, like the carnival rides that I know, like they're not 100% built to security, right?
No, not the slightest.
Yeah, but I'm over there like, let's fucking go on that one. Let's go on this one. And then you're like, no, I'm okay. Like the fair rides, the carnival rides, I'm all for it.
Okay, but in the context of life, what are those things then? To try things out. Are we going to become swingers?
No, but my mic.
That's
is
my
falling down.
point.
No, we're not going to become swingers. What the hell? No.
All right. Next topic. So, wonderful movie. What else about it that jumped out about it for you? Oh, you know, what I was going to say. Sorry, we went off on a whole fucking tangent. You said it earlier that Stephen King, what makes Stephen King good at writing or even writing horror films is or horror books, is his exploration of grief and just life in general. You happen to have some horror aspects in it. Same thing for Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
All of his past stuff, The Haunting on Hill House, Bly Manor, Midnight Mass. There's horror elements to it, but boy, oh boy, does he sit with relationships and family and grief and just everything that you can resonate as far as like life is concerned, and holds this emotional thing. And he gets really existential. There's this one monologue, I wish I could remember it, in Midnight Mass that is so how I think of life in like this miraculous way, where in this movie, the line that keeps getting repeated is, I contain multitudes, which is fascinating to look for.
And the fact that Mike Flanagan can just build on this horror on just the most mundane things in life, whether it be family or like a significant other relationship or even like a friendship or anything like that, with any of those aspects of life that you make or create something with somebody else, the fact that he plays with all that well, I think that's what makes people eerie.
Yeah.
Because give me paranormal stuff, give me whatever, I'm fine with it. But once you get like more into the things that can actually happen to somebody, that's where it gets a little bit scarier.
Yeah, agreed. Did you end up watching The Fall of the House of Usher?
Yeah, we watched it together.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Boy, what a amazing fucking show. Okay, we went real deep on the life of Chuck. I didn't expect to do that. But let's then switch gears and talk about How to Train Your Dragons.
Yeah.
Dragon, How to Train Your Dragon, the one dragon. Obviously, this is a live action adaptation of the 2010 How to Train Your Dragon. Voiced by Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, a couple of other people. It came out a long fucking time ago. And in the wake of Disney's live action adaptations, DreamWorks fucking pulled up their britches and was like, oh yeah? Hold my beer. Watch me do it. And I've been very happy about that. Now, like all the other live action adaptations, there's the love and there's the hate that comes along with it. Would you agree?
I agree.
I thought you could expand more on that.
No.
We covered a bunch of the Disney live actions. If you remember, in case you don't, I'm not excited for those things. I know we were kind of more impressed by Lilo and Stitch, but then you see How to Train Your Dragon, you go, okay, this is interesting. This is a lot better. This is more true to form. Now, that being said, this is the same story, almost beat for beat, almost scene for scene and shot for shot of the 2010, just with a very shinier exterior. It's what it looks like in the real world. But that's people dumbing it down and simplifying this live action adaptation. Because what I find the most difficult, and this is even echoing what director Dean DeBlois, who directed the original one. So why not have the original person be responsible for what this is going to turn out to be. But what he even said was, I needed to make sure that the heart of the original film was brought out of this one.
Yeah.
We needed to maintain the heart, the soul, the core. And in interviews that somebody asked, now, you were also co-writer for Lilo and Stitch. Did you end up, I know you weren't responsible for the recent remake. Did you end up watching it? He goes, no. But as long as they do good and keeping the heart of it. And she's like, nah, well.
See, I feel like he was working on How to Train Your Dragon when Lilo and Stitch probably got brought up or
I
something.
agree.
Because if you had Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois do Lilo and Stitch just exactly like beat for beat and how this is going to be, then I felt like Lilo and Stitch would have been a very much more successful live action. But
Totally.
I have not seen How to Train Your Dragon, the animated movie. Any of the animated.
Oh, I cannot wait to
lie.
sit down and show you those.
I think I've seen like 2, but only because at the house the kids were watching it. And I just sat there and just watched it with them. But I wasn't into the whole thing, but I just watched it and I felt like it's a very good animated movie.
Yeah, no.
Like the whole story and everything.
It's a perfect movie. So, obviously you're going to compare it to the original. And those originals, the 2010 thing, it's perfect. It's a perfect movie. Is this movie perfect? No. With live action adaptations, yes, you should be... Sorry, real quick. The definition of an adaptation, by the way, is making a version of the original thing, but in a different medium. This does count because even though the other one was a movie, the other one was an animation, and now this is live action. By definition,
Correct.
An adaptation. A remake is putting your own take on it, putting your own spin on it, which is that, to go back there, which is where Snow White fucking fell apart. Snow White's like, yeah, we're a live action adaptation, but we're also going to be a remake and try all these dozen different things to the point that, it falls apart and it's like, what am I even watching? So would I have liked to see something new story-wise out of this movie? Sure. But still, it is still such a difficult thing to retain the essence of the original. The emotional beats of the original.
Correct.
All of that was there. Sure, it's live action, so it's going to feel a little weird from a cartoon. We've said this before when we cover these live actions, right? The live actions can't do all the quick movements that cartoons can do. They can't get away with a handful of stuff. But even that being said, in this world of dragons, I am so happy they didn't try to like go hyper realism with the dragons. They kept their cartoonish emotion expressful forms.
Yeah.
Because that's where like the Lion King fell apart too.
I feel like if they changed Toothless, like even though I've only seen like part 2, and they changed like his whole everything, I've been like, let's leave. I'm not watching this movie anymore. Just because I think it would change so much from what it would be.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like this film felt like it saw all the mistakes and all the successes and learned its lesson from all past live action adaptations. From the Ugly Sonic thing. They're like, oh, let's not hyper realism this thing.
Yeah.
To let's not change too much of the story or hardly anything at all.
Correct.
Because they can go in a really wrong direction. Let's really just try to work on making a film that everyone's familiar with. You know what I mean? Somebody was equating it to like, was it 1998's American Psycho? I'm probably getting the year wrong. But the one with Vince Vaughn. That movie literally went shot for shot, line for line. I mean, it matches up perfectly, right? This one kind of sort of does the same thing, although there's like an extra 20 minutes in here. So like some of the scenes are allowed to sort of breathe and pace out. So, it does differentiate a little bit, and I don't fault for it, I mean, it's still, even though they did a really good job, and again, not to repeat myself too many damn times, but in keeping the same feeling, essence, and heart and soul and all that of the original, I still don't think that it's like a reason to continue with live action adaptations. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls in Hollywood of all ages, if you're going to do this, which it seems like you fucking are, could you just make them entertaining like this? Because this was entertaining.
This was entertaining. I will say I only teared up in one part.
Still.
I choked up a lot, but it wasn't like full tear kind of thing.
Still got some emotions out of you.
Yeah. But also, I also feel like I might have gotten more emotion. I may be getting more emotional if I watch the animated one, because something about cartoons, they just have the freedom to
hit.
add a little bit more of the emotions and stuff. Sometimes it can be hit and miss.
I just love that DreamWorks did such a fucking good job. Like, blew all the Disney stuff out of the water. And I'm not slamming all Disney live action remakes. There were some good ones. You know, Maleficent, Cinderella, I think I remember being good. Beauty and the Beast was okay. I'm not too hot on the original casting.
Think the Little Mermaid was good. I like the whole twist of it, and a little bit more. It had a little bit more to it, and I like that.
Because it was like on the good end of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. On the really bad end of the spectrum was obviously Snow White.
Yeah. Even though there's still that controversy with the whole Lilo and Stitch, they still hit Stitch perfectly fine.
I think so.
Yeah.
Although I still, you know, if they were complaining about a budget, I wish they wouldn't have gotten scared and would have actually like taken the jump and done some of those things, been a little bit more bold.
At least it didn't make Stitch like ugly Sonic, so we're good.
You know what? You take your wins where you can get them.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's life.
But the reason why I like that DreamWorks did this and blew Disney out of, I think, in my opinion, blew Disney out of the water was because of how Disney was started. Do you know the history of it?
Yeah.
Do you want to go and tell the story of the history?
I feel like you could tell it better than I do. I would go into like 5 different tangents before I could get to the end of it.
So there was a chairman from like 1988 to 98. Mm-hmm. I forget the exact years, but it was for 10 years. He was a chairman for Disney. His name was Jeffrey Katzenberg. And he was responsible for hits like Beauty and the Beast and Pocahontas and The Little Mermaid and The Lion King, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, there's a bunch more to that, right? But he was fired. And in his pettiness, after being fired, I think it was only like a few short months after that, he teamed up with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. I'm not familiar with David Geffen, but obviously Steven Spielberg. And they fucking started DreamWorks.
I love it.
And I think maybe one of their first films was like Ants, but DreamWorks is also responsible for Shrek, which in that movie, they sort of slammed on Disney.
Fucking love it.
And all their fairy tale fantasy stuff. So, you know, since then, they've really pumped out and produced like a lot of good animations from CG animations to actual hand-drawn animations. I don't have like a full list, but that's my point is like, those are the rivalries. It's Disney and DreamWorks, you know, and I'm glad that I feel like they did this movie just right. If they do continue, if DreamWorks continues with any other live action adaptations, or if they continue with a How to Train Your Dragon sequel, because there's I think 3 or maybe 4. Mm-hmm. I would like for him to do exactly what he did in here, and some, you know, change a little beat of the story, you know, what's your take on it?
Yeah. Also, just a little side note for what's his name, Jeffrey Katzenberg. Mm-hmm. Not only did he do animated films, but he also oversaw some very successful live action films like Good Morning Vietnam, Pretty Woman, Dead Poet Society, and Sister Act.
Of course, this guy would be like, "Hey, fuck you guys! I'm Jeffrey Katzenberg. I did all these movies."
Also, American Beauty, Gladiator,
Goddamn.
A Beautiful Mind. And that's after he went on to like do DreamWorks. So from 94 to 2016, that's when he did American Beauty, Gladiator, A Beautiful Mind. While he was still within like the Disney production, that's when it was like Good Morning Vietnam, Pretty Woman, Dead Poet Society, which I feel like you're going to really like the movie, and Sister Act.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that they brought some of the original aspects onto this thing, right? The design of the creatures, the same director, the same composer, John Powell, and obviously the same story. That's a pretty good start. They're going in the right direction. Now, if they do something again in the future, and now you kind of run into like, all right, will the new director and new writers and all the above, will they respect the original stuff if they continue with live action adaptations? That's the tricky part of it, because then some of those guys go, I want to do my own thing, but then they get so far up their ass about it, they're like, we're gonna try something completely new, you know? I mean, fuck, dude. Look at what's the story Kevin Smith tells of he was supposed to do Superman, and they wanted Nick Cage to do it, and they wanted Nick Cage to battle a spider.
Yeah.
You go, that's not even the fucking character anymore, you know? So like, I don't want them to do that kind of thing, like a Snow White.
I want my money back for Snow White, to be honest.
$209 million budget. It's ridiculous. What was the budget in this thing? $150 million.
I got 165.
$165 million?
Yeah.
That's pretty solid, dude. Especially nowadays with CG and everything like that. This movie looked great. This movie looked fucking wonderful.
For that price?
Yeah.
And opening weekend was 197.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
Dude, it looked really fucking good. The dragons, the CGI renderings looked so good, in fact, that I thought, wait, no, that has to be a puppet or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. So I was really impressed. And I've seen the original animation. You haven't.
No, I have not.
How did you like this movie?
I liked it. Well, here's the thing. I like the second How to Train Your Dragon 2. I liked it because if an animated movie is going to tell you a story and it's very much so the feeling of like the emotions and the story is really good, I'm in. I don't care if you call me a child watching a cartoon. Fuck it. Call me a child watching a cartoon.
Some people were complaining about some of the casting, specifically, what's her name? Nico Parker? Mm-hmm. Who plays Astrid, yeah. Obviously, there's a race change going on there. And somebody even said, like, oh, her acting was robotic. It's, again, going back to one of those things where in the cartoon, sometimes somebody's just too full of expression, which I think we talked about when they announced that the Hercules movies were going to focus on Hades, right? That's going to be a really tricky one to do. Oh, Nico Parker was in The Last of Us? That's her? I knew she looked familiar.
Oh, hey, that's her.
She's Joel's daughter.
There you go.
But no, I personally don't think her acting was robotic. I think it worked in this film of real fucking people. You know, you don't need somebody that's like so, because it would have come across like really Disney-fied. I always call it that, right? Where someone's like, oh, I can't believe you did that. Oh, and it's just too big of acting.
Yeah.
You know, like you gotta reel it the hell back in and just focus on like the core of that character. And I think she did a really good job.
Even the movements, like I'm going to keep saying that I've only seen the second one, but even remembering Astrid, I feel like it hit, and I've seen clips of people who posted like the animated one and some of it's like Astrid's in there. And I'm just like, okay, no, I feel like it perfectly went good.
I dug it. I don't really have huge complaints about it. Obviously, there's the whole story issue or not being new, but I don't know. I feel like I'm going in circles, but you get it.
Yeah, I'll kick rocks if you don't like it.
Which we then move on to our third and last movie, which is Materialist.
Jinx, Isaac,
starring Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans,
Pedro Pascal.
I've said it in previous podcasts that I am not a huge fan of Dakota Johnson.
That is correct.
And I would like to say on record that I've changed my view on her.
I'm going to have that as my ringtone.
You have your ringer on. But here's why. Okay, so I realized that the movies I've seen her in, Madam Web, 50 Shades of Grey, I'm pretty sure I saw some other one movie. She's a very like subdued person. Doesn't mean she's not funny. In the promos to this movie, in the interviews and stuff like that, all the questions, I'm like, oh, she's fucking hilarious. She's really fucking funny. And then I saw her on Hot Ones, and Hot Ones. I'm like, by the way, people, if you don't know what Hot Ones is, it's on YouTube. Host Sean Evans. I'm explaining Hot Ones now, but fuck you, whatever. It's a long form interview where he asks these really interesting questions. Always surprises them as they eat 10 progressively hotter wings. It's amazing. So it like drops their guard and everything like that. It really shows them like how real of a person they are. And she was so fucking funny and so fucking real. And I was impressed by it. And we were, by the way, even before I was seeing all the promos and stuff, you were like, we're seeing that movie. I go, okay, if you go to Drag Me to go see the movie.
Of course. Because my movie choices sometimes do hit. Not all the time, but majority of the time, I do have a good record on that. But I was not expecting how this movie was going to be.
Do you know anything about the director, Celine Song? I don't, by the way.
Yes, she did another one called Past Lives. So this is like her second film. The Past Lives is kind of similar to how...
To Train Your Dragon?
No. God damn it. Hold on.
God damn it, all the heck.
Hold on.
I'm such a shit.
How fucking dare you? Basically, like the deeply connection of childhood friends kind of thing, but the main character is married and stuff like that, but she's reunited with one of her friends from school. So it kind of has like a similar thing. But the thing that I like about Materialist is how she puts herself in that situation, like as that main character. Because for this movie, she was actually a matchmaker for 6 weeks, or not 6 weeks, 6 months, while she kind of, in a way, gave up screenwriting.
So the character played by Dakota Johnson, Lucy,
Yes.
is a matchmaker and in New York, and she's pretty cold.
Calculated.
And then whatever, there's 2 men involved in sort of wooing her. Now, that's what I thought the fucking movie was. I thought it was a fucking rom-com based off of like the advertisements, not like the interview promo stuff. I thought it was a rom-com. So when you were like, ooh, The Materialist, and I love me Pedro Pascal. I fucking love me some Chris Evans, but I'm like,
Who doesn't?
that fucking chick, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, that chick is in it. This is going to suck in a nutshell. And we're going to dig deeper into it. After we fucking saw it, dude, I was blown away. Every other movie that we've seen, I usually wait to like get to the car, maybe on like the walk up the escalator because it's broken. We'll kind of talk about it at earshot of people. Yeah, hey, La Puente, AMC, get your fucking escalator fixed. Dude, we were in our seats still as people were walking out, and I was giddy with discussion.
Oh my God. Can we just talk about the
We could talk about everything.
Okay, no, I got to start with the credits, the credits that are rolling.
All right, start at the end.
Yeah, we're gonna start at the end. Go for it. And it's instead of it, usually just
When
being,
it said no animals were harmed in the making of this movie.
shut up! Oh my God. No, usually I don't like when, and I know it's gonna be for every movie. Of course, every movie has like, the dark background with.
Oh, right.
But the fact that
Yeah.
both How to Train Your Dragon and this movie as well had something going on in the background, not just for the main cast, but for the whole thing of credits. It was different and I liked it because it showed a little bit like an epilogue of it.
So, and the context of this, right? And like I said before, we're going to spoil some stuff. So, in the end, she gets the guy. Which one of the 2?
You'll got to find out.
Well, actually, Chris Evans,
Yeah.
fuck you. And they're in the courthouse waiting area, right, where all the window 1, window 2 are, and it's a whole bustle of people and everyone getting their marriage licenses and stuff. And it's so fucking smart to end this movie like that. It was so sweet because you see all different walks of life: old people getting married, 2 men getting married, 2 women getting married, interracial couples. Cavemen getting married. That's the whole thing you got to see the movie for. Just a whole different handful of people. Like you said, it's an epilogue of love isn't about checking all the boxes, right? It isn't about, is he 5'11"? I also want him to have a good hairline. I also want to, all these little fucking superficial things.
Yeah. And I feel like as society keeps going and changing, there are more boxes that are being added to these checklists that kind of make you, in a way, feel superficial.
And the checklist we're talking about is because she's a matchmaker. There's a couple of scenes and sequences in which she is helping a man and or woman match up. She has these clients, so she's trying to matchmaker. But there is this like sort of montage sequence where everyone, man or woman's like, well, I need him to have a good job. I need him to be a doctor. I need him to be this age and this age, that, whatever. So like those are the boxes that we're talking about. And I think any of us in the dating world, whatever, we've all done similar things. But this movie is going to poke fun at and piss off people in said dating world who have all of those specificities, honestly. And I think that people who are in successful marriages or successful relationships, this movie is going to resonate with them, with specifically 2 characters.
I think what you're trying to say is whether you're single or in a relationship, you're going to see it through different lenses.
Yep.
And it's true because after we watched the movie, I was reviews started popping up and everything, and I was going through the comments, and the comments of just, and I feel like these girls maybe went a little too harsh on this movie, just because they're like, it was the most stupid movie that I've seen, I'm kind of just like, I don't think you got the point of the movie,
right?
But then, as I'm kind of thinking, as I'm reading these reviews and I'm reading these comments left on said videos and stuff like that, then I kind of started thinking, I was like, you either got into a relationship and got burned really bad, or you're single and you've been dating and every guy has not matched up, or you set the bar too high for yourself, and you're not attracting the correct people towards you, and in a way settle down for a bit.
You got to match the equal value people.
Yeah, and those equal value people sometimes don't go for, I'll put it this way, rich people don't hang out with poor people at poor people hangouts unless they're humble.
Or unless we're watching Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. So unless you're putting yourself in a situation where you're going to these hangouts where elite people are going out, but they can still sniff you out. Like they
I feel attacked.
Yeah. They'll sniff you out and be like, no, like not that one. But it's true. But also from like a girl's perspective, for you to be that harsh on a movie, like what has happened for you to be that harsh on love? Like, who are you?
Yeah. So going back to the movie, by the way, obviously the most of the movie is told through the perspective of Dakota Johnson's character. Mm-hmm. And the feel of the entire movie, by the way, is organic. You use that word. Mm-hmm. I'm stealing that from you.
No. Trademarked all the...
From the beginning of the movie, they set the tone. And I thought we once again walked into the fucking wrong movie.
For the first 2 minutes, yeah. I was about to...
Was this a movie about cavemen? What's going on? What's happening? And it was paced slow because I was expecting a love triangle rom-com, a quippy kind of movie.
Making my way downtown.
Something along the lines of like a 2000s Matthew McConaughey movie or whatever. Yeah. And this movie, as it went on, continued to surprise me with every scene, with every interaction. The feel of it being organic, from the dialogue to the themes that they were exploring. And we'll get to this one heavy portion of it. And this is when it was solidified that I was watching such a different movie in the most impressive ways. But Dakota Johnson showed me that she has range, that she can actually be a good actress.
Oh my God, yeah.
And embody, the emotions of this character and things like that. The pacing of this movie was amazing because it sat with the chemistry of all of our three actors, which was so crucial. If any one of them didn't have any chemistry, this movie would have been fucked, because nothing was. They didn't cheat anything in any kind of like quick edits, a big musical score, quippy lines or nothing like that. Like, it was, to really overuse the word, organic. There was even some scenes, good or bad or whatever, happy or sad rather, where the camera is just sitting there and we're just watching these people go through it. I was literally waiting for now they're totally going to cut to like something else and whatever. No, it knew, let's just let the actors do their thing.
Yeah.
The camera's just capturing it. And it was beautiful. Now, love in this movie is explored through a couple of different things, through people in the dating world who have yet to find love, to Pedro Pascal's character, who is rich. He has everything he needs except for love. And he's trying to find it in someone who's considered to be like a low value person, someone that doesn't match his level or his value. Mm-hmm. But then he's reminding her of her value. Then we have Chris Evans' character, which he's an old flame. He is the poorest of poors.
He broke, bitch.
and what's the value in him? And the word value gets used 12.5 times in this movie. But as it goes on, I realize that it has such different meanings, which was crucial. At first, the value implied all those superficial boxes. Mm-hmm. And as it went on, the value was the one simple thing, which was how easy it is to actually love somebody.
No math included, because nobody has time for math.
It's 1 + 1 = us.
That is. I wouldn't even say that. Fucking cringe, man.
Leaving it in.
No, but even to the point where even if we're seeing Pedro Pascal's character and how he's trying to math out his love and stuff, and then you have Chris Evans being a broke bitch, but you also have Dakota Fanning coming in a weird way, like a mixture of both worlds.
I do love that part when Dakota Fanning came in and was like, "Move out, Dakota Johnson. It's my movie."
Oh, sorry.
She did it again. I'm so happy I caught that.
It's because I watched Twilight, bitch.
Dakota Fanning? Oh, she is in that.
Yeah. Sorry, Dakota Johnson.
Go on.
My bad. Dakota Johnson comes from both. She's kind of like the mixture of both rich and poor kind of
But
thing.
she didn't come from a rich background.
No, I know she didn't come from a rich background. She came broke, made something for herself, is now in a place where she has money and can dress a certain way where those elite people can look at her and be like, I want to date you. How you present yourself and everything, how you're dressing and stuff like that.
I partly get that. I think more it's just a confidence in her. Because we don't really see like her, any other guys flirting with her. It's just him. It's just Pedro Pascal. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, his character of like being like a rich dude and charming wasn't overly done.
Also, you don't need to pay $12 million for a freaking apartment.
Pedro Pascal does. So like I said, we see love explored in the dating realm. We see love explored in someone who is a romantic and someone kind of lives in a fantasy world. Someone who lives in the real world and what love means to somebody who is just doing the math, which is Dakota Johnson's character, and the reluctance of trying to explore love. It's so fucking fascinating how all of it's done. That's all the warm and fuzzies. We need to talk about the serious thing that they dropped in this fucking movie, which blew me away. And that was, can we even say it?
What are you going to say?
Sexual assault?
Yeah, SA.
SA is what people say now because
Assault.
it gets flagged on everything.
Yeah.
Assault, right? It is a spoiler. She sets up one of her clients with another one of her clients. Come to find out that the female client gets assaulted by the male client. Mm-hmm. And the mood, the tone of the entire movie fucking shifts down to this serious mode. But how she vents about it to certain other people is like so fucking smartly done. They treat the whole assault thing very carefully and very well. No one's really poo-pooing it, you know? No one's just like disregarding it. And it does have its resolution, obviously, but it's not like a tiny thing that's thrown in there and just kind of forgotten about. Like there is a huge chunk of the fucking, you know, it's what second act and third, that is all reliant on that thing and her exploration of self through that event and everything afterwards. It really blew me away that it felt ballsy that they did it, and I was so happy that they did. And this movie isn't any kind of like man shaming or nothing like that, but the realism and risks of the dating world.
Going back to that scene, wasn't just walking me home, went into my apartment kind of thing. It was more like I will spoil a little bit here for you in case this topic is a bit of a sensitive topic for you. Mm-hmm. It was more of they're on this said date and she just goes, I'm going to go use the restroom, and just follows her. Mm-hmm. Like out of all the places you would think, but then again, it is very believable. The fact that it's a very believable thing that they added to this movie made this movie even more realistic to it not being a rom-com. It
reminds me of the discussions I used to overhear with you, and I'm actually not going to like name names in case it's you know too sensitive of a thing, but I've overheard you discussing this topic with other females that have also experienced assault in varying forms, and it saddened me deeply, and it made me realize how scary it is in your guys' world. Mm-hmm. You know, how you have to perceive things and be so careful, and the risk is higher, and you know, all the above. So like this just resonated, it reminded me rather of that discussion in reference to the movie, how Dakota Johnson's character also knew how fucking serious this thing was. She wasn't trying to take blame off of herself. and she wanted to make sure that the right people were took responsibility for all the above.
The empathy that she had when she finally got the chance to talk to Sophie, even though Sophie was in her right to be mad that she was being
Sophie being her client.
Yeah. Followed by Lucy, which is Dakota Fanning's character.
Again, that blonde, every time she comes into this fucking movie, she's like, I'm the fucking matchmaker.
And the thing is, I have it here and I just see Dakota and then the Johnson just disappears. Dakota Johnson's character.
It's a late night.
But no, just that that scene where she just has to take what the client's basically yelling at her for.
Right.
And the fact that she could only give her the honesty and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
If it were any other person, they'd be like, no, it's okay. I'm just going to let my lawyers handle it. I'm not going to say sorry to you. I'm not even going to talk to you or anything like that. The fact that she went against legal advice to not contact her and her boss's advice to not contact her, just so she could see if her client was okay, changed the whole tone of the movie as well.
That client, by the way, much props, much credit. Let's give her flowers. Zoe Winters is her name. I think people would have seen her as a reoccurring character in Succession. This movie, along with everyone else's chemistry with one another, everybody involved in this, whatever their roles, there were no small, people go, that's a bit role. There are no small roles. Everything has such an importance for all the other actors to play off of. And her role as Sophie, as the assault victim, is one of the most important parts of this film. That her feeling those feelings and showing them on camera, and then just, we're just sitting with it as it's happening. No music, no bullshit, no quick cut editing, anything like that. We are in it. We're watching something. It makes it feel like you're a voyeur, and that seriousness is violating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So call me a prepared bitch, but I will have 5 exits at the place that I'm going to.
The entire movie, of course, isn't just that, but again, I like how they dealt with the whole thing. But towards the second part of the movie, where there is the final, will they, won't they kind of thing, how those two characters express their feelings for one another was done in one of the most realist ways that I could resonate with. That our discussion on the drive home about our relationship and how it resonated with us. It was nice because it reminded me that we're doing, I feel, in my opinion, speaking for myself, that we're doing it right. Mm-hmm. That we've done it right. Because
you were talking to me on the ride back home and you were expressing it. And then when I expressed how I felt, you kind of stood quiet for the longest time. And I'm like, did I not say the correct thing? I panicked inside because you weren't like really speaking back. It was just like, the longest moment of silence. I'm like, this is it. I said the most stupid.
Feeling my feels, dude. I was feeling us in the moment. No, you were talking, and it was very sweet what you said. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't remember what I said.
I don't remember either. All I remember is you spoke the language of love, and it choked me up.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like I looked over, and your eyes were a little glistening. I'm just like, But here's the thing. I went for I said something bad right away. And I'm just like, no. But then I was like, no, wait, I think I said something good. But it was just like that initial fear, is that not what he wanted to hear?
No, I actually know it was what I wanted to hear. I remember it was one of the sweetest things you've never said before. And it was, yes, you could put it in my butt. And so that wraps up that movie and movie on to our final segment.
I would like to
Okay. Oh boy. Okay, finally we end the show with our segment called YHST Gets Fresh. Every other episode, Alva and I alternate and guessing the Rotten Tomato critic and audience score of the aforementioned movies. In this case, 3 movies. From 0 to 100, 59 and below being rotten and 16 and above
rotten
being fresh. Screw you, man. It's late. Okay, dokie. Let's start with the life of Chuck.
Okay, you're guessing.
I am guessing. I give that movie a 95%.
Okay.
I think critics rated it at a 90%.
Okay.
And I think that the audience loved it at a high 95%.
Okay.
Give it to me.
82 for critics.
Bastards.
88 for audience.
Why did I think so highly of the critics and the audience? Again,
Be-
by the way, we give no like huge heavy weight on the Rotten Tomatoes.
I think you gave it more of a score because you resonated with that movie a little bit more.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
That's
But
why.
for the critics, you said critics, what, 88?
82.
82. That's weird. Screw them. All right, How to Train Your Dragon.
Go.
Okay.
And it's dragon.
Damn it, I did it again.
It's okay. It's not Dakota Fanning over here.
Yeah, dude, that's such a heavy one. Oh, I just happened to pluralize the thing. Fucking replace the whole actress. Reel it in. I give it an 80%.
Okay.
Because, well, we talked about the whole movie, but whatever. And I think critics are going to shit on it more at 70%.
Okay.
But I think the audience are going to go like, yeah, no, this is what we wanted. 90% for audience.
Okay. Critics 77.
Okay. Well, that's higher than I expected.
Yeah. Audience 98.
Wow. That's pretty cool, man. Mm-hmm. And again, I mean, sometimes audiences know what they want and whatever, and it's like, pandering. But whatever. We'll listen to the first part of the episode. All right. And then last but not least, materialists.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 99%.
Oh, damn, girl.
There's always room for improvement. I think that the critics are going to give it a 90%. But now that I'm thinking about it, after we talked about it, I want to change my answer to 95% for critics.
Okay.
But I think, like we talked about before, that the audiences are stupid. And I think that they gave it an 80%.
Okay. So, audience is fucking ridiculously dumb.
How
69.
low?
No. But here's the thing.
Audience?
Yes. But remember how I told you when I was looking up reviews and stuff?
Yeah.
That I came up on some written reviews from people. And there was this one where a girl clearly said on this review, I created this Rotten Tomatoes account so I can bash on this movie because I give it -1 star.
Jesus Christ.
And at that moment, I was like, you are the most stupidest bimbo that there is. but and I will fight you. But
Toxica.
No. But critics gave it an 86.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll allow it. Critics are also funny like
See,
that.
I also feel like a lot of like
What'd you give it?
me, personally,
Yes, you.
I think I would give it like a 93. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 93.
I just don't
95.
see what else it could have improved on it. Maybe I'm just a simpleton. I don't know. All I know that I liked what I liked and I felt what I felt.
It is what it is, and you're not gonna put him in butt.
Yep. Nothing else? No last words?
No, I'm good.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It's weird that you're listening. Thank you for listening. Form your own opinions. Go watch those 3 movies. I still think you should go watch them, whether streaming or in theaters, whatever. That's your choice. That's your prerogative. But I like the theater experience. Watch those movies. Get back to us. Let us know what you thought about them down in the comments and in the DMs, which can be done at
YHST Pod
on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Please help support us on Venmo at
YHST Pod.
We appreciate everyone and anyone who's going to do it. We appreciate you and thank you in advance. And we thank you now for listening to our show. If you're new here, welcome. How did you find us? I want to know.
I need to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, new friends.
Thank you again for listening. And I want to know what movies you're excited for the next few months. And I want to know what movies are on your growing list of films that has people asking you the question.
You haven't seen that?
Later, folks.
Okay, bye.
Catch you next week.